I'm Liz Scissors. Today's video we're going to talk about the differences in brushes and why you would pick one brush over another brush. Let's start. We're going to go over the differences in slickers. A slicker brush typically has, it always has, bent pins. That being said, there are many varieties of slicker brushes to choose. So you always want to make sure that you're appropriately picking the right length of pin for the job that you are doing and the type of firmness of the slicker brush, as well as other factors. So when you are trying to demat or get through undercoat of a thicker, longer coated breed, you want to always start with deep pins that are typically more wide set apart, and they don't have a whole lot of give to them. You want them to be very firm. And the reason for that is you want to efficiently get through that dense coat and or a tangle. So if you're going through a mat, you're going to brace it at the skin and you're going to work through it. But because there isn't a lot of give to these types of pins, it's going to get there and it's going to pull through. And then it's going to be over with. Think of the Band-Aid theory. You want to just kind of get it over with. Dogs have a limited amount of tolerance. So you don't want to make them wait any longer or mess around with it too long, or they'll just lose their patience for it. So make sure you're using the wide set apart, hard or firm pins when you're trying to do long, thick coat that has dense undercoat and or dematting. You want to use something that doesn't have a lot of give, because you're just not going to be very effective. It's going to take too long, and it's going to cause the dog more irritation than necessary. Start with that one. Then you're going to move down appropriately. You always want to work in layers, starting with the widest to the finest. So that starts your job. Then you're going to move to your next slicker, depending on the breed that you're going to be using it on. On the thicker coated, longer coated, denser coated dogs, you're just going to use a standard slicker brush at that point. One that has medium pins that are not firm, but they are going to have some give to them, but not too much give to them. A great example is this flexible brush. This brush has give to it. It has two sides to it. You will notice this side is black and this side is gray. The black side is a little bit more firm of a pin, and the gray side is a little bit more flexible of a pin. So you want to use the flexible side that's got a little bit more give when there aren't any tangles or there isn't dense undercoat, because now it'll move freely through that coat without hurting the dog or causing so much resistance that you're having to pull and yank too much. And these are great just for maintenance brushing because it's got so much give. It's very gentle to the dog, but once you've gotten this through it, this is going to do a great job. You also have the option of, if a dog has sensitive skin or it has shorter coat, you have shorter pins in these types of slickers. These ones actually are a coated tip, so it's going to just be a little bit less abrasive to the skin and won't cause as much irritation. And it's just a little bit more gentle to the dog. So these are great for dogs that like a Maltese or a Yorkie that has thinner coat and you just want to be a little bit gentler on their skin. It's not as much of a brutal job when you're having to brush through that. Then you also have, here's another different style. This is a universal style that has an arched back. This one also has coated pins. Very similar, just this one's got a flat back and this one has a rounded back, and it's just a matter of preference and how you hold your brushes. All of these can be used for shorter coated dogs, thinner coated dogs, or at least dogs that have no tangles or undercoat left. They will all work for that. You also have the option of getting a brush that has pins that are very, very close together. The closer the pins are, very similar to combs, the more it's going to separate the coat and it creates more volume. So these are great for creating volume. So on your poodle, when you're trying to fluff up that coat to get that finish, when you're fluff drying your dog, use a slicker brush that has pins that are very close together. And after you've gotten your other brushes through it, and then it will just separate and volumize, and it'll give you that really beautiful, thick, full, plush finish. Another brush that we offer is a pin brush, and a pin brush is designed more for maintenance or stretching a coat that has no tangles. This is not going to be a dematting brush. It would be absolutely a time-staking, painful, tedious job to try to demat with these brushes. So you're going to stretch the coat with a stretch dryer, or even in between groomings on, say, a long coated breed like an Afghan, something that doesn't have a thick coat. Your poodles, these are great for stretch drying on your poodles, and just your maintenance in between, because you're not trying to create volume or anything. It's just your maintenance, but it's also protective to the coat. They're very gentle, so they're not going to cause a lot of breakage or damage. These are great for that. This is a version of a boar's head brush that this particular brush has. Here's another version. And the boar's head brush, the benefit of these is after you have finished doing all of your brushing and combing, even your clipper work, you can run this over the dog, and it is specifically designed the way that the texture hits the skin of the dog. It stimulates the dog to rehydrate and create more lanolin in the hair shaft and the follicles, so that it is making the overall health of the skin and coat come back faster. So it helps with irritation after the grooming. So if the dog is already dried out or it's maybe a little bit irritated, this can help bring that moisture back into the skin to where they don't feel as irritated. So this is great for short-haired breeds. Run this over after your bath and your de-shed work. It really helps rehydrate that skin back up and make it less irritated, and it'll look really beautiful, and it helps create that lanolin producing gland to come out and re-shine up that coat. So these are fantastic. One thing to make sure you do is always, when you are dry brushing a dog, make sure you are using some kind of spray. You don't ever want to dry brush. You're creating nothing but breakage and damage, which leads to more matting. So make sure you're using either a conditioning spray or a hydrating spray, or at minimum, you can even take a little bit of water, and you can always just put a little bit on your brush, and that will help you get through without putting too much in the coat. I hope these tips help you in choosing the right brush. You can find more information about me at lizsizzers.com, and I will see you with the next video.